there are some sporting people who do transcend sport, and I have been lucky enough, like Sheila, to interview some of the real, David Beckham, for example. Every time I speak to him, he is properly engaging, and he's charming, and he's interested. He's not always interesting, but it's always, instinctively you look forward to seeing the guy. Roger Federer, I'm a huge fan of. Usain Bolt, I once interviewed in one of those scrums in Paris. I just happened to be wearing a bright pink, fuchsia? Salmon. Shirt. And I was in the middle of it, and he wasn't going to do any interviews. He just won a race at the Diamond League in Paris, and I shouted, Usain, BBC, and it sort of caught his eye and his ear, BBC and pink, and and so he did me an interview, and then a couple of weeks later he sort of remembered my pink shirt. Where's your pink shirt? When I saw him at Crystal Palace, which is kind of nice, and it does make you feel 1,000 foot tall when someone like Roger Federer or Usain Bolt remembers you. But I think, just as inspirational, possibly more so, and this is an absolutely true story. I tweeted about it yesterday. It happened yesterday on the Thames towpath by Barnes Bridge. And this is, I don't know if anyone knows, this is Women in Sport Week. Sally, I don't know if you're having anything to do with it, but it's a great thing. It's just to sort of inspire people to take the first step, give it a go, women and girls in particular. And as part of the Radio 2 Breakfast Show, I think we should be absolutely embracing that, because you don't necessarily listen to Radio 2 if you love sport. So there's lots of people who don't. So Chrissie Wellington, the Ironman world champion, came on yesterday and just sort of planted a seed, just tried to make, just suggest that people do give it a go. I see this woman, and this almost sort of happens in a dream. This made my week. She's hanging off the barriers, out of breath. Are you all right? Yes. Turns out she was going for her first ever run that day because of something she heard Chrissie Wellington say on Radio 2 that morning. She didn't know who I was, and she actually didn't know who Chrissie Wellington was, but she said, I just heard something on Radio 2, and it just made me give it a go. And it made me, I was like that once. It's funny how, we talk about sport, us people who do, and we are unhealthy and overweight often, and, smoking frequently, and I was that guy, and it was that first step that took me, and I'm really kind of evangelical about this, about what a difference it makes. Just the first step. I'm working with this charity, Skillforce, who put usually ex-military people in schools to try and inspire underprivileged kids, but we're also going to try and just put these Skillforce races, 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile races into schools in underprivileged areas to try and just get people to get a bit kind of proud of themselves, a bit involved. And another very quick story, and then I'll hand over to Sally. But I'm on my way to 5 Live one day. I think it was probably in the days we did the breakfast show together, and I played golf, and so my shirt was unusually for me tucked into my trousers, and I just noticed this sort of flop of kind of fat. And I thought, well, that's obviously not me, because I'm not fat. But what is it? And I phoned my wife, who we've been with together, and she's very nice. And she here. And she would never normally hurt my feelings. And said, Caroline, am I getting fat? Well, I thought, I am. So I had the sort of choice: do I keep eating what I want? And someone who has still, and definitely had at the time, a sort of mild addiction to Frazzles. That wasn't appealing. I want to continue eating what I want. Or do I, start exercising? Or do I do what Steve Bunce, the boxing journalist, once told me on a late night drive back from Oxford? He goes, Vas, I'm getting older, I'm getting fatter, and I'm getting happier.